Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's AMA. Thank you for joining us as always. We have some interesting updates to share with you. I'm going to hand you over to Herman now, and he's going to give us an idea of what's going on a high level with the most important aspects of development and the strategic development of the project. Are you there at the moment, Herman?
Yes, thank you, Owen, and I do apologize for the delay. This week, I'll try to be as brief as possible while relaying something new and something that hopefully will provide a lot of substance and insight in the goings on and sharing and how we think about the future. So, as discussed in the previous AMAs, we released the EVM compatibility layer. We achieved all the various accomplishments that would make Cherry usable and therefore a viable platform on which or from which, through which, base and access products of various kinds for dApp developers, Web3 broadly, consumers. We are continuously making progress, not just in having integrations and core features, but also making the features as usable as possible via documentation, via code readability, via responding to bug reports. We've recently conducted a quite successful bug bounty ahead of the release of the EVM parachain on mainnet. Of course, storage is and will stay the main product of Cherry, while all these other facilities, all these other features, as well as the processes that we established to make them usable, to make them accepted, hopefully, by the broader Web3 community and not just those who are already sold to the Cherry ideals and to deploy on the Cherry blockchain. Storage is a continuous effort, as perhaps opposed to these features that we consider milestones as far as making Cherry accepted. We certainly want Cherry to be usable. We don't want Cherry to exist as an island, as many others comparable blockchains, comparable systems have, and to their demise. Storage is a continuous effort. We have worked on our storage solution as it is now for 2 years. We will continue to working on that for the years to come. As we expand the this core goal, this core feature of Cherry, which is storage, we will continuously also adapt the feature sets, these other facilities, these other processes that I described earlier around it. But as far as core development is concerned, we will now almost exclusively focus on maintaining the existing features that provide compatibility, interoperability, as well as improved usability more generally for our chain, and rather focus on storage. Although must be sought, must be adjoined with our broader vision of establishing a Cherry ecosystem. This also has been a goal at the heart of the Cherry ideals, the Cherry mission. Beside what we refer to as core development, which again is all things to do with the Cherry blockchain, the Cherry network. Now the Cherry networks, since we have a parachain, a separate network system deployed on the Cherry relay chain. Ecosystem is let's say another goal, a parallel goal that certainly benefits from all those things that I described in making Cherry more usable. Certainly more usable to developers, as the ecosystem is primarily comprised by technical products deployed on the Cherry chain in the variety of ways that's now possible, either directly or via interoperability channels or compatibility measures, as well as simply providing the user base, or rather access to the user base, that would make deploying, or rather leveraging the Cherry stack not just feasible, as is the requirement technically, but also worthwhile economically and by access of users. Compatibility with Ethereum translates directly to anything deployed on Cherry. Anything deployed on Ethereum is compatible in both directions. And so anything deployed on Cherry, in short, is immediately available with a few short additional lines of code, with no additional architecture, no additional infrastructure, to the already perhaps millions, perhaps tens of millions users of Ethereum. The development of the ecosystem, however, has taken a step back for reasons I described in an AMA perhaps sort of 3 or 4 weeks ago. This is tied to the circumstances that affect the industry, in circumstances that we do not control, but we do attempt to respond to in a conscientious, methodical way, to at once maintain the Cherry ecosystem asset, both as a goal, and therefore we should always work toward goals, though adjusting perhaps the labor we set in this work. And also, of course, the already existing products and investments we have as a company, as an incubator, through Cherry Labs, through other sorts of investments, certainly community investment in work in brand development and so forth. Though the situation is quite complicated, and I promised I'd be brief now, as I promised I would be brief last time I spoke about this and then spoke for 40 minutes. The choices we need to make ecosystem-wise are quite complex, are difficult, but so far I think we've mostly gotten it right. Reducing investments in appropriate time, responding to external stimuli, certainly observing, but not being overly proactive in our response to events. So, for example, when Bitcoin was going up, we were a bit conscious of the lackluster activity on, let's say, Ethereum, on DeFi, which suggested that while cryptocurrency, this one very specific asset, Bitcoin, was going up it wasn't a clear indicator for us, at least, as a business, as a network, um, myself as a manager of people, where I need to indicate where they should be spending time on. It wasn't a clear indicator that there would be an uptick, there would be a just basis for an increase of investment in ecosystem and all those other things that we, as a project, as the stewards of this cherry mission that I've referred to for now 2 years, it wasn't. I'll put it this way: we responded conservatively. We were correct in our assessment since the indicator was faulty, as hopefully we've all seen. Though Bitcoin may still be going fairly, everything else hasn't picked up. And so while we balance investment, foresight in these two parallel objectives, building the core, which again means building storage and the tools to access the storage, and building and maintaining the ecosystem, we've had to make some difficult decisions, which brought us to this place. I think we are very comfortable to, at least financially wise and project wise and roadmap wise, to endure another few years. Certainly, I'm not wishing on us, but at this pace, we have plenty of work to do, and we can act completely independently of what other people's assessment of the value of our industry is. The next steps are continue this balancing act, continue investing on our core, continue maintaining, perhaps expanding, perhaps retracting, perhaps reducing investment in our ecosystem. Core, more specifically, will shift away from tooling and into storage. We'll see a lot more progress on that front. We have kept the news about storage quite minimal since the progress has been so gradual. We'll try to push more specific milestones, something that people can actually touch and observe and try themselves out. Technically, that is the plan, the undergirding, the plan that will undergird our roadmap that will change both technically and business wise. Now, the business roadmap is certainly dependent on the technical roadmap, not vice versa. I suggested that we would update this business roadmap. I do not have a timeline on the update of the roadmap. It's silly said that way, but that's the case. But in short, hopefully this brief explanation, not so brief, gave you an understanding, once again, of how we're reasoning about things and how we're balancing all of these various objectives and responding to stimuli and what exactly indicators we're looking at to make these decisions. And also to announce some later announcement too, of a specifically a business roadmap, and also a shift away from gradual storage upgrades to a more milestone-based one, so people can actually observe and touch it themselves. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing. Hopefully I didn't get lost too much. You all understood what I meant to say. I will try to formulate this better, perhaps in writing, perhaps next week. But you can for sure expect a few public changes or public adjustments in roadmap within the next few weeks. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Herman. That's kind of touches on what a lot of the questions that were posed by people in the past 48 hours or so. The focus is now going on to a more visible technical progression with a focus on storage. We will have, in short order, an update to both our product roadmap, as Herman discussed, and also the business roadmap as well. They're just things that you can consider forthcoming. We just have to get to them soon. And in terms of making the storage function as usable as possible for anybody to get their hands on and put it into practice and put it into use, that will happen as soon as is feasible, but it's not far off. So those are some of the more important things that people asked. There are a couple other things that I'll try and get addressed over the next couple of days in the chat. But in short, you can expect our roadmap to be finalized and a roadmap update on business and technical sides very soon. It's just a question of us getting around to actually putting them in a presentable format, which will go out. I'm going to flag some of the other questions that were posed by the chat over the past 48 hours to Herman, and hopefully he can get to them, considering the fact that he kind of went over time today. So we'll try and get that done too. And what I would say is that you can expect more updates in the rest over the course of this work week, so between now and Friday, in terms of those questions. But certainly, I think that gives us an idea of where we stand. It was a pretty comprehensive update from Herman. So what I'm going to do is I've started to take notes on it already. When the video has buffered, then I will make more. Comprehensive notes. As Herman said, he'll probably put it in a more eloquent format over the next 7 days. But just as a recap for you guys, I'm going to try and get that out. I will get that out this evening within, let's say within the next 5 hours or 6 hours. So I'll compress everything Herman said and then just drop it in the chat in a Notion document for you guys to be able to check it out, in case anyone missed it or in case anyone didn't have or couldn't follow for whatever reason. So that's fine. With regards to other things, I'm going to update from the business perspective. That will probably come along with Herman's discussion of the business roadmap, which will be coming soon. We will have more things to talk about next week, and we'll try and cover all questions in the chat, as I mentioned, over the next couple of days anyway. And we'll have some other things to show you guys over the next 2 days and on Monday as well. So that should be good. In the meantime, John is going to freeze the chat there, and we're going to go come on to this week's quiz. I'm going to announce. I think we have last week's quiz winners as well. That have been the scores, the results have been tallied for that. So I'm going to announce both this evening, later on when I post the summary of what Herman said today. So later this evening, as I said, we'll have quiz results, and we'll also have, more importantly, we'll have the results and the analysis and summary of what Herman spent the last 15 minutes or so saying to us. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to hand you over to John. He's going to administer the quiz, and we will pick up some of those things that were discussed and some of those questions over the next couple of days. And as I said, just to repeat, later on this evening, we'll have a summary of what Herman said. I'll try and map it out in a as digestible a format as possible. And we'll also have quiz winners from last week and this week as well. And then we'll sort out those quiz prizes in the next couple of days as well. So thank you very much for tuning in. It's all onwards and upwards for the project, as always. and especially now, actually, now that we have the EVM delivered, and now that we're moving on to the next kind of point on the horizon, which, as Herman said, is a focus on the storage module. So that's all quite promising. But we look forward to sharing more details with you over the next couple of days and couple of weeks, when we'll really lay out the vision for the project. And then we're going to, as I've said before, that's when we can start to push forward with the business development, or at least roll out business development and marketing plans as well. So I think I'll leave you now with John. He'll go through the quiz, and I'll talk to you guys later this evening. Anyway, cheers.